Well, hello, this is Peter Combs from Bitamount.com and P.O. Combs Asian Art in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And today is Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020, and this is the first of the videos we're going to be doing on the upcoming Asia Week auctions. We were going to try to do one of all the Christie stuff in one shot, and I realized it would just run too long, so we're going to break it up and do a couple of them, and we'll be doing one on the Sotheby's sale. Couple of notes: Sotheby's is not putting out a catalog for this sale. Okay, so if you want to look at their stuff, you're going to have to go over to their site and scroll around over there. They're easy to find. So there will not be a catalog on our site for it because they didn't print one. However, the global member pages on the Sotheby's thing, all their listings, all of these listings are on there already. All right, now, a couple of things I wanted to mention was Asia Week, as I said, is going on. There is no live bidding in New York for these auctions. All of it is going to be done online or by telephone. However, if you really want to go and you want to preview and get a good look at things, if you're thinking of bidding, you can make an appointment. They're more than happy to accommodate you, and you go down and do it. But they are encouraging people to bid electronically because of all that's going on in the world, and that's a perfectly reasonable thing, I think. All right, but the catalogs are here, and then in this part of the video, we're going to cover the two-part sale of the Alsdorf collection, which I just think is fabulous, and I think the collectors themselves are just as interesting. I think that they had a very interesting life, and we're going to go through it all and have a good look. And so you know more about them. James and Merilynn Alsdorf were married in the early 1950s. They were fairly wealthy, and they became instantly interested in collecting art for their own home of all cultures, not just Asian art, like in this catalog, there's a lot of Indian and Himalayan and Chinese art, but also Italian furniture, very fine contemporary designer American furniture, Mark Rothko paintings, the whole bit. They were extremely broad-minded in their decision-making of what they loved. They were very active with the Art Institute of Chicago, the Smart Museum. I believe Mr. Alsdorf was on the board of one of the modern art museums even, and they were very generous benefactors. They were always donating and lending and doing things with local institutions throughout their lives, not just at the end when everybody else tends to do it. They've been always involved with them. They were always fans and encouraged their institutions to do whatever they wanted to do that would broaden their scope. And there's a nice picture of them right there. There they are. All right, and one of the things we're going to talk about first is the Ganesha. The family owned two Ganeshas, which I thought was sort of interesting. One was Nepalese and one was from India. The Nepalese ones are made of copper typically because that was the preferred metal in Nepal. It's rather soft, easy to work with. And this is a southern Indian example that is done in bronze. So we're going to hop over and start with that. I'm not going to go through a lot of detail about both Ganeshas because they look very, very similar. We're going to go to the oldest one, which is this one, a 12th century example. The story of the Ganesha, a lot of people look at them and wonder where they came from because it's obviously the head of an elephant on a human body. And there's a lot of mythology about where the Ganesha came from. The most popular one is that he was the son of Shiva and Parvati. And Shiva accidentally chopped off the head of the kid, and Parvati was so upset that Shiva went and found grabbed the first head he hands could be laid up on, and it happened to be that of an elephant. He stuck it on the kid just to make everybody happy. All right, this elephant, these figures were intended to be symbols of good luck, good fortune at the beginning of new events. The Ganesha will often be seen outside of the beginnings of festivals or other celebratory events, often in association with Shiva and all that. And here it is depicted. In one hand is an axe, and in the other hand is part of a broken trunk. And here you see the trunk coming down and eating sweets. Often the Ganeshas are depicted eating as sweets, fried foods, delicacies, sweet, tasty foods, okay? And there's the rest of the bronze standing on the lotus base with this very nice stepped plinth under it and so forth. And it is expected to bring somewhere between $120,000 and $180,000. Measures about 16 inches tall. So it's good size. Very nice condition and very early. This is a really early one. But one of the things that's interesting about this collection that they had put together is that the provenances and the history of where these pieces were bought is I think very interesting. For example, this Ganesha was originally in the personal collection of Alice Boney by 1970 in Tokyo, and then she brought it to New York and sold it to the Alsdorfs in 1975. They had gone to the Alsdorfs, so you know, had gone to India in the sort of mid to late 1950s and became huge fans of Indian culture and began collecting sculptures and bronzes and stoneworks. From there, they went back evidently many times and loved India and loved the culture, loved the art, loved all of it. Good for them. And then on to this. This is another piece with a fascinating history. This is a really rare marble head of Buddha, Sui dynasty, made between 550 A.D. and 618. And if you take a look at it, you're going to be able to get a really strong sense of what these stone heads were like up close. The photography in this catalog is just outstanding, by the way. Good color, good details, lots of small details are visible, and they've included numerous photos, which is great. Because it's online, they have to do that, obviously, and they're even showing you shots like this from the top of the head with all the swirling curls. Alrighty. Now this marble head had a very interesting history, though. It was originally bought by David Weil. Okay, the Wiles, David Weil was the chairman of Lazard Frères, the famous French bank, back in the 1800s. He was from a French family. He was born in America and in California, I believe, and he moved back to France as an adult, or at some point before he went into business, and he ended up becoming the chairman of this company, of the bank, had plenty of money, and he began collecting art with abandon, and he became a massive art collector. And what's interesting about this head is that during World War II, when the Nazis occupied France, they grabbed this head and took it from the family, along with some other art too. And it was repatriated to the family in 1946, passed down through the family after that, and it ended up being sold at an auction, the David Weil collection, on February 29th, 1972. This was lot 14. And it ended up ending up sometime after that with the Ashkenazi Limited in London, and the 12th of February, 1979, and then to James and Merilynn Alsdorf. All right, so this has been off the market for 40 years. And I can tell you, they probably didn't pay anywhere near $500,000 to $700,000 for it, though they probably paid a good price, because this was a beautiful, rare thing. Even back then, it was just as beautiful as it is today, and I'm sure it was appreciated. But anyway, we'll see what that brings. But I think it'll do very, very well with all that history, the interesting history of being taken by the Nazis, who it belonged to, and the fact that it ended up going through Sotheby's to Ashkenazi and then to the Alsdorfs. That's a heck of a package. All right, and then on to this, a really rare Guan Yin, 15th century Buddha, bronze Guan Yin rather. And this is a very, very nice one. The quality of this, they've included a lot of photographs. And the reason is that the casting is unbelievably complicated. This is not your regular seated Guan Yin, all right, by any stretch of the imagination. It's about 11 inches tall, but the detail of the casting itself is just pretty much mind-boggling. When you look at the robes and where all the folds are done, and the amount of air, the daylight that can pass through all of these bits of relief casting and so forth. And down here, they've included many other photographs. I think it's probably 8 or 9 photographs here. But this way, you can pull it in. If you're really into bronzes, you want to come and take a good look at this. It's on the Christie site. You can play around with these all you want. And when you get into this, you'll get a real strong sense of the casting quality of this piece. Just absolutely stupendous. It's like an 11-inch gem. It's just beautiful, and it's $400,000 to $600,000 estimate, which doesn't seem crazy to me. And it also has a long history. It had been in the Eddington collection in Jerusalem, and then it went to a Dr. and Mrs. Otto Schneid collection in Haifa, also in Israel, and then it moved to Canada in the Offsayer collection, and then it went to Park Benet in 1977 as Lot 40, and then it went to the Alsdorfs. All right, so again, 43 years since the last time this thing was traded hands, and has its full history in $400,000 to $600,000 estimate. And then on to this is this really nice Taibai Zun Kangxi, here we go, peach bloom glazed water pot. It's a beautiful example, and again, they've included lots of photographs of it, and you can pull it way in. You can see the incise decoration, and this very, very soft, not glossy, bodied pot. Just beautifully done, beautiful, elegant, soft. And sometimes they talk about these looking like crushed strawberries, the color of crushed strawberries. Well, this is that color. If you've ever seen some of these peach bloom pieces and you say, that doesn't look like crushed strawberries at all, it looks like a mulberry, it's purple. No, this is the color they're talking about. Just absolutely lovely. And there's a great photograph of the bottom, and if you're interested in these pots and want to learn more about them, I would urge you to come and get a copy of this photograph. All right, I believe it is. Yes, you can save the image by right-clicking Save Image. And the reason is that this is a fabulous detailed shot of the bottom of an authentic example. You get a very, very fine look at what the foot rim should look like, this bluish tone to the glaze, all these naturally little sort of hopping around pinholes, the way the mark is executed and so forth. There's a lot of information there, and it'll be very different than a copy. All right, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of copies of these floating around because they've been reproducing them like crazy. All right, this one's estimated 150 to 250,000. Seems reasonable. And all it says about the provenance is that it was bought before 1990, and I think that's sort of probably when the Alsdorfs sort of stopped collecting, because you see that comment a lot. Who knows where they got it, but it's a wonderful thing. They probably had the record somewhere and they got lost. And then on to this is this absolutely great Qianlong Marken period Hu form vase. This is a Han Dynasty shape that was originally done in bronze. And as you know, during the Qianlong period, he was a big fan of objects from antiquity, Han pieces, Sung pieces, and all that. And they went about to make newer, modern examples at the time. These were contemporary because he was such a fan and he appreciated the artwork. And this is a beautiful example right here. And notice that it's got the very, very fine gold thread crackle running all over it. Lovely example. And this is not a big pot. These always look so big in the pictures. This thing is only 7 inches tall. But what is interesting is that they also here included a very, very good photograph of the bottom. And you can really blow this up and get a very, very good look and get a sense of the texture of these brown dressing that they put on the foot rims of these, and how the glaze pulls and creeps back. There's some nice, helpful little reflections in here to get a sense of the texture of the glaze, and so on and so forth, all the way around. Here you can see where the glaze pulled back a little bit during the firing, and a tiny, 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 tiny bit of orange peel, but very fine. All right, and estimated at $100,000 to $150,000. And this piece also has a good collection history because it had been originally in the hands of H.R.N. Norton, who was a famous dealer in London. He was also a collector, and a lot of his collection ended up in the British Museum. I believe he donated like hundreds of thousands of pieces to that museum. And there was a book done on his collection that's rather expensive and hard to find these days. At any rate, then it went to Sotheby's and was sold in 1963 at Sotheby's London, Sotheby's and Company, as it was called back then. It ended up at Blewett's, and James and Merilynn Alsdorf bought this in 1964. What's interesting is that they bought this, by 1964, this couple had only been married for about 12 or 13 years, and they were just buying great things everywhere. They were just on a tear. All right, and then over here is another piece that's reminiscent of Qianlong, a reminder of Qianlong's appreciation for early pieces, is an 18th century Marken period Qianlong roux type brush washer. Superbly well done, beautiful soft glaze, this beautiful, beautiful blue glaze. Just amazing right there. Very soft, very creamy, not too shiny. And again, there's a nice shot of the base. Here it is. And you can pull this up and you can see the spur marks upon which it was fired. They'd put these little clay supports underneath the pot when it went in the kiln so they could glaze the foot rim fully. So it would come out, they'd be able to have a very beautiful piece with fully glazed foot. And then once they came out of the kilns, they just snapped those little clay pilings off the bottom, and now it sits on its nice fully glazed foot rim. It is a Marken period example, Qianlong, and estimated at $100,000 to $150,000. And this one, again, bought prior to 1990. That's all they know about it. What a gem. What a great thing. And then onto this, another one of these Guan type Hu-form vases. This one has, again, was acquired by James and Merilynn prior to 1990. Nobody knows much before that. Maybe somebody came to them with a great collection of things and they just bought it all. But again, you have one of these examples with this gold thread crackle running through the body, and these wonderful creamy little handles coming off the side. And again, not a big piece, only 7 inches in height. And here's a nice detail of it right there. There you go. Good look at the foot rim again, and you can see these same sort of characteristics with the graze pulls back a little bit from the foot, but just a beautiful example. And this one is estimated at $100,000 to $150,000. And as I said, it's 7 3/4 inches tall, almost 8 inches, but not a big pot, not a big pot at all. All right. And that's sort of it for that catalog. It's only about 23 lots in there, but you want to go through it. There's a lot of good bronzes in there, a lot of Himalayan bronzes. There's and some other good things. And now let's take a look over at the Part 2 sale. Here it is, right here. Okay. And this, again, the catalog cover looks exactly the same, obviously. And there's a bit more information on the Christie site about it. But this catalog, the second part, is mostly porcelains and a lot of monochromes. Lots and lots and lots of monochromes, if you like monochromes. There's about 120 Asian lots in here, as well as some Tonkas. And there's a very nice Japanese numbound chest we're going to get to that they bought. Don't know why. They just liked it. They had good taste. All right, and one of the things we're going to look at is this Kangxi to Yongchen period conical bowl. These are beautiful. I don't know. I'm pretty sure these have to be Yongchen period, judging by the glaze and the way they look. But let's bring these in. Here we go. These are beautifully, beautifully done. This unbelievably soft blue that was used, and here you have the bamboo trees coming over the rim here and here. And the bamboo trees up here again coming over, and then you have the phoenix coming over the rim. And one of the things that's interesting to note here is that they're not identical. All right, these two bowls inside, they're very complementary. This has been talked about before in Chinese porcelain. It was talked about with the famous butterfly vases, that they were not identical. If you put them side by side, they're going to look, the spacing of the decorations, how the decorations are done are going to look slightly different, but similar enough so that the pieces are complementary to one another, but they're not copying one another. They're both very individual. And in this one, you have the phoenix coming up, positioned slightly different than the other example. And you'll notice that the bamboo trees are positioned and painted fairly different, but complementary. But this very, very soft blue, and the way these look to me, I can't imagine that these are Kangxi. And also with this shape, this very nice conical shape to them. These really look like they're much more likely to be Yongchen than Qianlong. But here we have it. And here you can see, you saw the phoenix head on the inside of the bowl. Well, there's the phoenix head, the rest of the phoenix outside of the bowl. And you've seen this pattern before. They're called over the wall bowls, with the dragon's head inside the bowl and the dragon's tail on the outside of the bowl. And in this case, the phoenix was coming over the edge of the bowl. And on this side, you see the bamboo tree coming out of the ground, and again, flipping over and going to the inside of the bowl, which is what we looked at before. But beautiful quality, very soft. These were not marked. But look at the estimate, $6,000 to $8,000. They're about 3 inches or so in diameter. They're very small. They're nice cups. But if you want to take a shot at these, and you're not going to be in the position to spend 10 or 20 or 50 or $100,000 on the other stuff, these are absolute gems, and they have great provenance. They came from C.T. Liu, successor Frank Caro. I don't know if you know the story about that, but Frank Caro worked for C.T. Liu. He was first time his photographer, took over his gallery when C.T. Liu was gone. And it was bought on March 16th, 1957 by the Alsdorfs. So this was 6 or 7 years into their collecting, and they were buying at this level these really, really fine, superb objects. Even when they weren't marked, they loved them enough to buy them. All right, and then on to this is this very, very fine Kangxi period underglazed red, copper red dragon bowl. This is a very fine bowl, and if you pull it in and take a good look at it, you'll see just how fine it is. The rim, the shape is all absolutely perfect. The white glaze is absolutely even and superb, and the underglazed red of the dragon with these slight brownish tan areas in between, sort of filling it in. but just a really great dragon bowl. Absolutely excellent. And there's also a very good shot of the bottom of it, so you can pull that in and have a good look at the base of this to see what they should look like. The mark is, of course, done perfectly. Beautifully shaped foot, slightly V-shaped, as you see on late Kangxi and Yongchen pieces. And with a $20,000 to $30,000 estimate, the bowl measures 5 inches in diameter. And again, acquired prior to 1958, but they don't know when or from whom. I'm assuming they probably got it in London, but it's just a guess. All right, because they bought a lot of stuff in London. And then on to this is this very good. This estimated on this is really terrific. $4,000 to $6,000 for this really fine Kangxi period gu form vase, of course, based on an early bronze form. But here it is done in porcelain, Kangxi period. It is really well done. They did similar examples also with these soft colors in this type of decoration during the Qianlong period as well. But this is a Kangxi example. Just absolutely lovely, and not a big pot. This is not a big thing. The original bronzes were, 13, 14, 15 inches high. This one was only 5 inches tall. It was a little miniature thing, and it has a Chenhua mark on the bottom. It is not Chenhua. It's Kangxi period. But as you know, Chenhua marks were often applied to Kangxi pieces, and that's just a great example right there. And then on to this very, very, really lovely Yongchen period copper red bowl with the shark on it. This is absolutely cool. Hold on, pull this up. There it is. And notice the very, very fine glaze on this beautiful copper red glaze and this outlined white shark that's enway decorated. You see the scales and the fins and so forth in it. Just beautifully done. And the shape of the bowl is absolutely excellent. The potting on this was really, really superb. It's got a big estimate, $70,000 to $90,000 US. It is mark and period, of course. They provided a very nice picture of the mark, painted in a really lovely soft blue. This very nice, smooth, rounded foot rim with it's been hand trimmed and then sort of rubbed down. But also notice on this, thankfully they show this slight iron oxide effect in the glaze, this slight tan color that appears on these old plates that they haven't quite figured out very well on the modern copies. It's a good way to tell. One of the ways to tell, not the only way to tell, but it's helpful. And also notice down at the bottom, they've included some reflection in the photographs right there, where you can see the tiny little pinholes in the glaze of the body. And you also see that this is not a high gloss piece. This is a nice, smooth, copper red, very satiny in finish. And estimated, as I said, $70,000 to $90,000. And this was bought in, Chicago in 1956 from Robert Somerville. And I don't know who he was. I wonder who Robert Somerville was. I'm sure somebody's going to let me know now that I've said it. I was getting emails about that. He was a dealer. Well, I'm sure he may have been. All right, now on to this. This is a nice Yongchen mark and period Guan type Bombay form censer. You've seen this form before, of course, in bronzes. It's typically how they're done. Late Ming bronzes were often shaped this way. Again, gold thread crackle running through it. Nice thick glaze. This has a very nice thick glaze. You can tell here how small those little holes are and how it thickens out at the base and so forth. And you're noticing that they had those Qianlong vases with gold thread in them. And now you have this very lovely little incense burner with gold thread in it. And here's a picture of the mark, the Yongchen mark. There it is. And you can pull that in. And you see the little gold thread areas of swirling around the base. And this lovely foot rim. This nice brown dressed foot rim. It's got a little bit of texture in it and so forth. And this is estimated at $40,000 to $60,000 and was bought prior to 1990. That's all they know. Beautiful pot, though, isn't it? God. All right, and on to this. This is one of my favorite things. This is obviously based on, it's a libation cup form thing. It's a Qianlong mark and period, but it's absolutely a gem, this little cup. There it is. All right. Just beautifully done. It's done like a rhinoceros horn libation cup sort of carved in that manner, but without all the little details and whatnot. But a beautiful, beautiful example. Lovely soft blue on it. Beautiful, beautiful clair de lune blue almost. And they included a good photograph of the bottom. This is a really rare thing. I'm kind of surprised why they don't think it's not worth more money. There's a picture of the foot rim on it. It has sort of a provincial Qianlong mark on it, but superbly potted. Gosh. It is 4.5 inches or so tall, with a $6,000 to $8,000 estimate, which to me seems remarkably reasonable. It really does. And the history on it was they bought it from Sidney L. Moss Limited in 1965. And those of you who know who Sidney Moss is know fantastic dealer, unbelievable reputation. And it came out of the Welcome Boyce collection before that. And it was lot number 177, or item number 177. All right. So I don't know. I'm surprised at the estimate on that. Maybe there's a reason why. I don't know. If somebody calls and gets a condition report, tell me. Because I think that seems, for that form, that's a very rare form. Haven't seen it. I'm sure there's one in the Palace Museum somewhere, but that's about it. And then on to this, they also were big fans of Tang lions. There's 4 or 5 of them in this sale, which is really interesting. But I think this is probably the best one. It's a white marble lion, and when you pull it in, the lion has the most wonderful facial expression. It's interesting because the carving of this head almost looks like the way they did lions' heads in Italy, which sort of ties into their fascination with Italy, because they had a lot of very fine Italian furniture, Italian metal, marble and stonework and so forth in their collection. And then they bought this Chinese one that I think is depicted very similarly to the way Italian lions were done. It has a $20,000 to $30,000 estimate. It is 7 inches tall. And again, it's got a long collection history and was acquired from Eskenazi in 1982. All righty. And then on to this, I had mentioned at the beginning that there was a non-bond style lacquer domed coffer. Here it is. Momoyama period, circa 1600. Beautiful example. Here it is. And I can see why they bought it. This thing is just elegant. And it almost looks Italian, looks European, looks Asian. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing with a modest estimate, $15,000 to $25,000. Beautiful example. And there's also a whole bunch of their own furniture and other things in this same catalog at the end. So you can go down and see what kind of furniture they had. It's all European, but beautiful stuff, okay? And that's it for this collection. If you haven't subscribed to us yet at Bidamount, come over and visit us. Get involved with the newsletter page. We'll be doing another video on the rest of the Christie sales and the Sotheby's sales in the next few days. We'll try to get them up as soon as we can. Thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you like these, and make a comment, and see you all pretty soon. All right. Bye-bye.